Hi everyone, welcome to the episode 4, I believe, of the color therapy. So today I want to talk about obviously how does color impact us in a positive way. To me, color therapy divides into two groups. So we have the happy and we have the calm, and depending of what color you pick, to me it sort of goes either into the happy, and I find it, when I look at it, I find it energizing and I find it uplifting. If I pick something that is a calm color, I find it relaxing and soothing. So it depends what you want to get from your colors, but you can pick a very vibrant color palette and you can then create a calming palette from it. So when you look at my swatches, the top half is always very kind of saturated because I want to see the intensity of the color. But then when it comes to the bottom, it is watered out and it is nice and subtle, so that I have three actually strength of the colors. So the top, the middle, and the bottom. And that's essentially what we're going to look at today. And you can then pick for yourself what you want to achieve from it. So what we're going to do is we're going to play with a few colors that I have picked to play with today. And I'll just quickly tell you what they are. They are the transparent yellow. By the way, this is my Schmincke Horadam palette. So this is the transparent yellow from this palette. We also have the Cobalt Turquoise, Prussian green, and we have the sub green. Schmincke's sub green is very vivid and it's very juicy. So the other thing I had in mind is actually looking at the colors that are stood next to each other on the color wheel. So if we are looking at here, we have the yellow green, green, and blue green. Now the blue green is going to serve the purpose of potentially somewhere between the Prussian green and the Cobalt Turquoise, so somewhere between them, but we're going to play around and see what we can create. Then the green is going to be the sub green, and the yellow green I'm intending to mix by using the transparent yellow and sub green. So we're going to mix them two and then use sub green on its own and then mix those two and see what we have. That's the idea. Now we're going to look at the most vibrant side of it, but we're also going to play around and create pastel range from it, which is really fun. So when we're looking now at the color wheel, here is the adding white, and I don't have a single white in my palette, and I kept kind of thinking whether I should order a tube of a paint so that I can, play around with it and make colors lighter, but of course it's going to make it opaque. So if you like your colors nice and translucent, and you want to create a very pastel palette like so, but without the opacity, then what you do is you substitute the white with water and you get the same result, but you're going to have a translucent pastel rather than an opaque pastel. I hope this makes sense. So let's look at this window right here. So we're going to be intending to go from this to that in the blue green. In the green, we're intending to go from this green to that. And then finally from the yellow green to somewhere around here. So if I'm going to quickly go ahead, this is the color palette of the white that we're looking at. So let's see what happens. Also, because they're next to each other, They're called analogous, and they can be, so typically it's supposed to be 3 colors, but it says here you can pick at least 2, but no more than 5. So you can go from 2 to 5, and it could be any colors like that. So when we're looking at the wheel, it can be anything from here to here, from here to there, you know, any direction you want to swing it. And in our case, it's going to be right here. So we're going to start with these 3 colors and see what we get. It should be pleasant to the eye. Also, let's look at the second row here, which is the tint, and that is going to be the kind of the watered out fragment of the color, which is above here. So let's have some fun. Now, this is an extremely big palette here, and what I tend to do these days is I just get the insert out like so, and I take out this whole thing somewhere to the side, because it's just, I'm not too fond of these huge palettes like that. So I'm going to take it to a side. We will need some mixing trays, and I'm just going to clean out a couple of these sections here so I have some space to do that in. I just realized that I have this exact color here, which is in the pan. This is the one that I squeezed out, and I might as well just use that because I want to use up these colors. As you can see, when I'm working on a project, I squeeze out colors and I never throw them out, because I think there will be a day when I will use these colors and they just stick around for a while sometimes. So I'm really intending to use up colors that I squeeze out. I hate being wasteful when it comes to watercolors, because they are not cheap, you know. They are artist grade watercolors, which you do have to pay a bit of money. But anyways, for your reference, I'm going to leave them in this order so that you know what we're doing. So first of all, I'm going to play around just on a scrap of paper. As you can see, it's a different tone of a paper. This is a cheapy kind of student grade, very white paper, and this is a very good 300 GSM watercolor cold press paper. So I'm going to use my Jackson Squill brush, and I'm also going to bring out my cloth here for color control, or water control, sorry. Like that. And let's just play around a little bit. So anyways, I'm just going to drop Schmincke don't really need any wakening up because they're so creamy, but I'm just going to add a drop of water to them like so. Okay, so let's just swatch them on its own as they come. It's beautiful bright yellow. And I'm just going to play around and see, because I have different colors here that I want to swatch it with. So let's try it with a bit of the Cobalt Turquoise, and now some Prussian green. I love Schmincke's Prussian green. It's just such a gorgeous color. Look at that. Look how beautiful this is. And then finally sap green. Very juicy already. So that's that. And then I want to try and mix these colors a bit together. So I've got... That makes a lovely color. Look at that. And then let's try and do actually sap green over here. And this color over here with the Cobalt Turquoise. See what happens there. Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at that. Beautiful color. And then finally a bit of this. Oh, yum. That is gorgeous. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this color palette. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if I need this yellow. I think those three work beautifully together. So let me find another little scrap of paper. here, and I'm just going to swatch out these 3 colors. Hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm so happy that you are finding this color therapy very helpful for, you know, for positive thinking and relaxation and all of that. I think it's something that definitely helps me. Well, not that I think, I know, and that's why I decided to do this series. Okay, so here we go, 3 colors. They work beautifully together. I don't even know if I need white, yellow in this case. Maybe a different yellow. Let's try this one. This is the Quin gold hue, which is a beautiful color. So let's see if that would be any different. Yes, I think this hue of a yellow would be better, so that I could then mix them together. Actually, no, they mix into something quite muddy. Or do they? No, they mix into that green yellow, doesn't it? Let me see. So no, so this yellow was better. So if you hold your color wheel, you can see that this mix that we got with the transparent yellow is a lot closer to here, to the yellow green, than this one. So that tells me that I need to go back to the original color. Look how pretty this looks, actually. Doesn't this look good? I feel like this is too bright. Anyway, I'll go with the instinct of the first colors, and then we'll see how we get on. So I'm just going to put them this way. And okay, so what I'm going to do today is, on one side of the paper, we're going to create a really vibrant kind of wash, and then on the other we're going to do the same thing, but it's going to be very light. Okay, just before we start, I thought I'll give you a little drawing session as well. So I'm going to actually, instead of doing a wash, I want to do more of a like a floral illustration, keeping in mind that I have 3 colors here. So I am going to draw out very simple petal shapes. I'm kind of thinking of hydrangeas as I'm doing this. So that's our one. And I'm going to repeat it over here. So they're not going to be identical, but that's fine. And then we're going to do one that's slightly underneath it, and it's going to be smaller. And we are thinking of groups of 3. So I'm also changing up the shape of the flower. I have really enjoyed botanical illustration lately, and you don't know of it because I haven't been filming it, and the reason is because I have been designing something which I'm really excited to share with you very soon. And so hopefully we then can start playing around together. As I said, the big reveal, I was planning to do it in the end of August, but there have been a few little changes, in the schedule, and so it looks like I'm just going to draw a line above the design. It looks like it might be well, basically I need to set up a store to be able to sell my products that I'm working on. So either I wait till the store is set up and I do the reveal then, or I could do the reveal and you just have to wait maybe a week or two after the reveal for me to set up the you know, the store and things so that you can purchase it online. So let me know which one you actually would prefer. Would you prefer to see the reveal and then wait a little bit until you can purchase things, or would you rather have everything set up and ready to go when I do the reveal? Basically, are you patient or not patient? Do you want to go and purchase immediately, or do you want to see me play around with these things first and then set it up? So in the comment box would be useful if you could let me know. So okay, basically there we go. We're just going to do the centers and that is it. So very simple, and we have something to compare side by side. Now, because it just finished illustrating with the ink, I want to quickly take out my heat tool and just blast it very quickly so that the ink is set. Alright, I just wanted to quickly show you this gorgeousness of Cobalt Turquoise with the sap green. It's almost glowing, it's so gorgeous. Cobalt separates so beautifully here. Gorgeous. Alright, so let's do this. I'm going to start by probably the Cobalt. Well, let's start with this then. So this is the beautiful, and I might actually swap to a smaller size brush. This is the Black Velvet Silver size 4 because the other one just has too much water in there. And I'm going to lift some of this color and put it onto the next petal. So this is the Prussian green. And the way I want to work with this is I want to create the most intense kind of wash of it. I want it to be really super strong. Obviously I am blending it to create a little gradient, but you will see the strength of this color. And then I'm also dabbing straight from the pan. Schmincke is beautiful for the smoothness. And let's do that one. Then I'm going to now mix up this sap green with the transparent yellow. And get this beautiful color right here. So that's quite beautiful, super bright. Let's see if we can touch it into the other color, which looks like it might have dried by now, so not much will happen. And so we're learning today about picking colors that are next to each other on the color wheel and what that does to the eye. So it's supposed to be quite harmonious and quite beautiful. And the eye is supposed to like what it sees. So there we go. Now this Cobalt comes to shine when you use other colors with it. Also a fair amount of water because it likes to granulate and travel, and that happens best. Oh, I like what I'm seeing here when this green is going inside. So let's just help it a little. So yeah, I'm going to also add a little bit of this Prussian into some of these leaves, or petals rather, and see what happens. Like that. So it's very vibrant, it's at its best, and when I look at these colors, the eye just sort of sends some sort of happy message to the brain, and it starts to like make me feel happy and really like uplifted and energized. And yeah, so that's what I get from looking at these beautiful bright colors that work together. And now let's do the same thing, but we're going to do very pastel color palette this time. And that means loads of water and very little pigment. So I'm going to go to the other brush because that's very good for holding loads of water. So I'm just going to go ahead and give myself a very base, a very pastel base. So as you could see, I'm doing the opposite of what I've done before there, which was going in with a bunch of color. If I want to intensify, I'm just not going to go straight onto the paper. I'm going to go into the pan and then put it into this little puddle of water and work it that way. So that's very pastel-y. Next thing, I'm going to go into this green and I'm going to add quite a bit of water to it, and that's going to look lovely. The only thing is, actually I might swatch back to this other brush because the other one just putting a bit too much water into here. And then we are going to go into this turquoise, but make sure it's very light as well. So immediately I find this very calming, very much like peaceful. And when I look at the camera right now, the color looks a little bit washed out. So what you need to do is do a little bit of glazing to bring the detail out, but we're still going to stay within that light pastel color range. So let me just dry it and come back. Okay, so now it's nice and dried. Let's give you a little close-up. So it looks pretty, but it looks a little bit flat. So we need to bring out a few details. And for that, I'm going to use slightly stronger mix of the color, but still not as intense as previously. And now I'm just going to kind of almost create detail rather than just blobbing color. So here's my time to shine a little bit, or you know, make the flower have a little bit of something added to it, which is going to lift it from that flatness. So I hope you can see already on the green flower that we added just a little bit of detail, and that already gives it a nice dimension. So we're going to do the same, let's see, I'm going to intensify just a little more, and I'm going to do that on this flower. I'm trying to stay within the same color range as I did the others, the darker ones. So with pastels you might feel that you need to add a little bit of glaze, but not always. It depends what you're doing. If you're doing like a wash rather than an illustration, then you might just leave it nice and pastely and pale. But if you are doing something like that, it probably is better. Oh, look at this beautifulness. This might be too strong, so I'm just gonna water it out. Prussian green is a stunning color. So I'm just going to give it a little detail here. It's good to use a detail brush, so this is a number 4 round, so it's going to facilitate those little marks that we're trying to achieve on the petal. So it is up to you how much of the pastel you want to let shine through. Just keep in mind that you want it to be pastely and light rather than dark and vivid. Like so. And a little bit here on the tip. It takes longer, and I think because it also takes longer in itself, it's also a very calming experience when you do a glaze. So then it's up to you. You can go into the darkest bit and just touch it wherever it's still a little bit wet. And remember, you don't want it to be extremely harsh at any point. So if you need to lift it just ever so slightly, you can still do that. If you need to soften out a few areas, you can still do that. And that is pretty much it. So when I'm looking at it, it's not striking me with its brightness. It's a very kind of more of a subtle look. And if you compare it now to the very bright piece that we did here, you can see that I was very free in this one and just kind of letting the pigment flow into the water and do its own thing, and you know, not really mixing it too much with water and spending time to get the right ratio, and so it ended up more bright and more cheerful. And this one is more delicate, more calm, and it has more detail. So it really depends what you are in the mood for on the day. So I could recommend both of the techniques depending on how you feel and what you want to achieve. So if you want something more relaxing, you go for this. If you want something uplifting and fun, you go for that. So I hope you found this useful. All the links for all the colors and products that I have used will be linked below for your convenience. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.